This is a mathematically perfect blueprint of a cinematic set piece. Every line is a calculation meant to sell an illusion. But deep inside the lattice of this dry dock, there is a single point of amber. He has no name in the script. He is a dock worker, and he is guiding a 3-block-long starship out of port, using the exact hand signals an airport worker uses to push back a jet. This is an exploration of the people like him, the sweepers, the medics, and the bakers. We will track them in the order of their evolving agency on a film set. Background actors do not advance the plot, but their work is the foundation. Without their labor, these fictional universes would not feel real for a second. Some directors build worlds from the ground up by assigning unglamorous jobs to the people in the corners of the frame. It is a strategy of labor as architecture. In Star Trek II, the director reused footage of technicians in work bees, small service pods meant for washing the hull and checking conduits. It established that Starfleet operates on a massive workforce, not just inspiration. Ridley Scott used the same tactic in Blade Runner, filling the street level with noodle cooks and merchants working 19-hour days. The sheer density of their labor proves that the city does not care about the main character's mission. In Aliens, James Cameron showed mechanics clearing a dropship bay with toolboxes and checklists. Their casual, practiced movements tell you the Space Marines are backed by a workforce that treats a combat launch as just another Tuesday. In Titanic, one man in a baker's coat calmly drinks from a flask as the ship's stern rises. This was based on the real Chief Baker, and the production team tracked down a period-accurate 1913 flask to ensure the workers' tools match the history. When this labor is perfectly orchestrated, it locks the cinematic illusion into place. The plan holds because the background is working as intended. But a perfect plan is only a plan until a person walks into it and makes a mistake. In the first Star Wars, a squad of stormtroopers sweeps into a control room. One actor, reportedly rushing the take due to a stomachache, misjudged the height of the door and smacked his helmet directly into the frame. The editors missed it, but the audience didn't. By the 1997 remaster, the studio leaned in and added a thud sound effect to the impact, officially canonizing the accident. In the sequel, an extra sprinted through an evacuation holding a modified ice cream maker. Because he was on screen for 2 seconds, fans spent 40 years inventing a backstory for him, eventually forcing the studio to turn a kitchen prop into high-security rebel technology. Human error and the random chaos of a set frequently override intentional design. The worker's mistake becomes the world's lore. Sometimes, the technical needs of a film force the background worker to betray physical reality. In Raiders of the Lost Ark, a butcher behind Harrison Ford was ordered to mime his work silently so he wouldn't interfere with the dialogue. He spent the scene hovering his cleaver 25 millimeters above the meat, performing the idea of labor without the sound of it. We see it again in Quantum of Solace. A dock worker was told to sweep the air 12 millimeters above the pavement to protect Daniel Craig's audio mix. If he had actually hit the ground, the scrape of the broom would have ruined the take. The technical demands of a clean mix often defeat the illusion of authentic work. Real life is simply too loud for the movies. The final evolution of background labor occurs when a worker stops performing and brings their own unscripted history into the frame. In the cafe in Casablanca, almost every extra in the background was a real-world exile who had recently fled Nazi-occupied Europe. The actress Madeleine Lebeau had escaped Paris only hours before the German invasion. When she is seen crying on camera during the singing of the national anthem, she isn't just hitting a mark. The man at the roulette table, Helmut Dantine, had been imprisoned in a Nazi camp in Vienna. Other extras in the room shared similar stories. By utilizing actual refugees, the production captured something the script didn't ask for. When the room sings to drown out the German officers, the grief in those wide shots is a recording of people facing a war that was still happening. In Life of Brian, the actor Michael Palin aggressively improvised in the faces of the background Roman guards. Their visible struggle to stay stoic, their lips trembling as they try not to laugh, humanizes the entire empire. On a 1980s San Francisco street, a woman who had just had her car towed volunteered as an extra to make back the impound fee. When an actor asked her a question, she stayed in the moment and gave him genuine directions, providing the film with its most famous joke. In the cafeteria scene of North by Northwest, a 10-year-old extra in the background knew the prop gun was about to fire. He plugged his ears seconds before the trigger was pulled, letting his own self-preservation override the director's sense of timing. A worker's raw instinct, whether it is amusement, confusion, or the need to protect their hearing, will reliably break through the instructions of a call sheet. In the famous "funny how" scene in Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas, Joe Pesci improvised his entire interrogation of the main character. The background mobsters in that booth were not told this was coming. Their reactions are honest. They are calculating in real time whether their friend is joking or about to start shooting. That terrified mobster and the tiny dock worker from our first frame are doing the same job. The main characters and the script pay the budget, but the invisible labor of the cinematic work beat provides the texture of reality. They are the reason you believe the world exists past the edges of the screen.